Hey, what's up guys? There are a lot of tutorials on the YouTube about how to use Puppet Pen tool in After Effects, but most of them are designed on a specific use case, for example animating a tail or creating a character animation or creating a character rig. But in today's video we're going to understand the basics of Puppet Pen tool, what are the different puppet pins available, what are the specific use cases or what are the specific use of each and individual puppet pin, and how to use them in different use cases. So without any further ado, let's jump into the After Effects. Well, if you are new on the channel, make sure you already subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon next to it, because if you're not doing that, then you're going to miss all our future notifications for the awesome content which we are creating for you. So yep, we are here in the After Effects and let's start exploring the puppet pin. To create any complex or any sort of animation in the After Effects, there are multiple ways. Puppet Pen is one of them. If you don't know how does Puppet Pen tool work, then let me tell you, Puppet Pen basically works with image distortion. So it takes any image and based on the puppets, it create the distortion in the image, and then we can add the keyframes to create the animation. Okay, so it works on any image, it works on any shape, or it works on any vector which you can import from the Illustrator, or you can simply create anything in the After Effects, or you can simply have an image as well. So it works on the image as well. So let's quickly create something, simple, straightforward rectangle in After Effects. Okay, and we are going to use this to create the puppet pin. You can use any shape, doesn't matter, as we are understanding the basics. That's why I'm starting with very basics, and I don't want to complicate it just with the super duper characters, and just you guys understand the exact use of puppet pins, different puppet pins. I want to make it very simple and easy to understand. If you don't know how to use After Effects, guys, then if you are very beginner in the After Effects, we have a dedicated video on After Effects. And if you are confused with all other panels you are seeing on the screen, then don't worry, there is a dedicated video where we have explained all these different plugins which are your super time saver in creating animations. I'll put the link in the description as well for this, so you can follow it along. Now, to locate the Puppet Pen tool, it is something like this, a thumb pin kind of icon. And when you click here, you can find there are different types of puppet pins. So in today's video, we are going to understand these first 4 puppet pins. So the first pin is very simple, straightforward, position pin tool. So what exactly it does? It helps you to animate the position of the object which we are applying the puppet pins. Okay, so the name itself says, I'll create 2 position pins just to demonstrate. And now you can see when I move any of this pin, based on my movement, it is squashing, stretching, bending and moving the mesh of the object. So when I'm saying mesh, what it exactly means, so if I zoom in a little bit, you can see this triangular shape which is basically the mesh of the object. You can see the controls for them, so you can hide them. You can change the expansion. Expansion is basically the pixels around the object or around the edge of the shape which we have created. So let's make it default 3 or 2. And density is how dense we want this mesh to be. So depending on the density, it creates the fine animation or the fine edges of the shape. If we have higher the density, definitely it will take more time to compute the animation, right? So let's have something around 20. So you can see the complexity of mesh. And now when I change the position or the bending, so now you can see when we have changed the density to 12, and when I try to change the position, you can look at the bending of this object. So let me just undo this and let me just make it very low. So let's say 4. And now you can see there are very less shapes or very less triangles which are created for this shape. And when I try to create the animation, now you can see the edge of the shape, or when I'm bending this, you can feel the edgy look here. So more the density creates the smoother shape, but it takes time to compute. So when I'm saying time, it depends on the resource as well, or the computer as well. If you're using a good configuration laptop, then this should not be the problem. So we can have somewhere around 12. Okay, and this seems to be a good number, right? Now along with these controls, you can look at this record option button here. Basically record option is something which allows you to configure how do you want to record the puppet pin animation. So when I'm saying record, it is basically the automated record process, which is controlled by your mouse cursor. So when you hold command or control button and when you move the puppet pins, it automatically records your animation based on your mouse position, and when you drag the pins, it records the animation. And if you want to configure the speed and smoothness of the recording, then you can configure it here. You can also enable show mesh while recording the animation. If you don't want, you can hide it. Okay, so we are not going to record anything as of now in this video. I'll just tell you the basic way of how to create the keyframes to animate anything using puppet pin tool. So now we are talking about the position puppet pin tool, and when we say position puppet pin tool, the name itself says it is basically allowing us to manipulate the position of the puppet pin. And now to make sure or to edit or to change the keyframes of any puppet, what you have to do, we have to go to the effects. You can see puppet, and when you expand the puppet, you can see mesh 1. When you expand the mesh 1, you can find the deform. When I started the tutorial, I had told you that puppet pin tool works with the deformation of the image, and that's why we have this deform here. So when we go under deform, you can find both pins which we have created on our object, and you can find when you expand any of this, you can see position property which has already a stopwatch enabled. So when the stopwatch is enabled, it means when you move your current time indicator and change position of any of this pin, it has automatically created a keyframe for you. And when I play the animation, you can see this has created the nice bending animation with the puppet pin. So now we have understood the position puppet pin tool, and we have understood how to animate the puppet pins, but now we would understand the other pins. Okay, so when I'm doing the puppet pin or when I'm bending, or when I'm moving the position pin, you can look at this object here. It is getting a bit squashed. Okay, so to make sure that I want to keep the deformation of my object as much as possible to the original, then in that case I can use the starch pin tool. So wherever we apply the starch pin tool, it basically tries to hold the shape on these pins as much as possible. So now when I bend this, which we have already created the animation, and this is a very good plus point of the puppet pin tool, that whenever you add any other new pin, and if you already created any animation, then the animation is already preserved with the new pins as well. So now when I'm bending this, and when you can see, the new pins are basically trying to hold the shape of the object to the original shape as much as possible. So when I add one more starch pin here, you can see so how it has tried to maintain the original shape. Okay, let me just quickly undo everything. So now when we understood the starch tool or the starch pin, let's understand the next pin. Next pin is basically a bend pin. Bend pin, the name itself suggests, or the icon itself suggests, it is to animate the rotation property of the puppet. So I'll quickly add somewhere here. You can add it anywhere. And now I'll just move a couple of frames. And now you can see, so when I'm doing the animation of the bend pin, you can see my object is getting bended. So let's just try something like this, and now you can see so bend tool is basically used to rotate the objects. So you can say whenever you want to create animations where you have rotary elements, for example arms or legs or a neck, a neck which has head on top of it, so you can use the bend puppet pin tool in that case. Okay, now we have created a rotation, we have created the position, so I'll just delete this, and that will delete the animation as well. So first I'll delete the keyframes. Now you would say how I would delete or edit the keyframes, because I'm not seeing them or those are not clickable here. So very simple way is basically select your mesh or select the puppet here and just hit U on your keyboard. It basically shows you all the keyframes which are animated. Okay, or it basically shows you all the keyframes which are available on the selected object. Now you'd be seeing this is very small space here. Unfortunately, just recording doesn't allow me to use my both monitors, so I have to put all these panels here in the single screen. But yeah, you can use the tilt button. So wherever you are in the panel, and just when you use the tilt button is just below the escape and on the left side of the 1. on the keyboard. So whenever you use the tilt button, it basically expands the specific panel to the entire available screen. So now you are able to see all the available keyframes. So I'll just delete this. I don't want that. I'll hit the tilt again and I'll go back to the default mode. And now I can delete the other pin which we don't want. So I'll select this and I'll delete it using the delete on the keyboard. So you can see we are only pin 1 and pin 3. The pin 1 is the position pin tool and pin 3 is the rotational or the bend pin which we have added. Now I'll tell you one more thing guys, let me just zoom in this again, and if you want to change any existing puppet pin, you can still do that. So we already pressed U, so it is just showing you the keyframe. Just close it and open it again. You can see pin type. So when you change the pin type from here, it will basically change the pin type for the selected pin with any other pin. So when you use the bend pin tool and when you try to rotate the object, you can see it is rotating from the position pin tool. And this is basically, if there is no position pin tool, then it will rotate the entire object. But as we have this position pin tool, which is creating a constraint for the bend pin tool, that's why when we rotate using the bend pin tool, it takes the position pin, if it is available on your object, as a pivot point. So now I want to bend this object, let's say from the middle or somewhere here. So I'll just go here and I'll select the position pin tool and I'll add one more position pin tool here. And now when I select the bend pin tool, bend pin again, now you can see when I'm bending it, it is just bending it from the nearest position pin. And if I just add one more position pin on the top, and now when I try to rotate this, now you can see it is constraining the rotation in those two pins, and it is just rotating the middle part or middle portion, because we have added two position keyframes just to hold the position of the object wherever they are. So I'll just get rid of this, and now we have understood bend and position pin tool. The next pin is basically advanced pin tool. It is nothing but the combination of position and bend pin tool. So I'll just delete the bend pin and I'll delete this position pin as well. I'll simply add one pin here, and now you can see, unlike the bend pin was taking the nearest position pin to rotate the object, to bend the object, but when we are using the advanced pin, it is taking the position pin of itself, which is the center of this, and when I'm rotating, it is taking this as a pivot point. So this way you can use the advanced pin tool to create a rotational, which is a bend pin, a positional, which is a position pin, and a scale pin as well. So you can scale up and scale down the object. So based on the use case which you want to animate, you can decide which exact pin should be used. And this basically gives you more knowledge on how to use the puppet pin tool in more detailed or in more controlled approach, rather than just putting the random pins and animating anything. So without understanding the pins, you will not able to use the exact pins for the specific use cases. So that's why I have tried my best to create this basics beginners video where you understand each and every pin and use of each and every pin. So when we understood basics of the puppet pin tool or the different puppet pins, now the next thing is making this puppet pin a complex rig and create complex animations using puppet pin tool. But to do that, the puppet pin tool itself is not enough, because it doesn't allow you to create the proper constraints which we use in FK or IK rig, which is forward kinematic or inverse kinematic rig. And to do that, we need a parent-child relationship, and to create a parent-child relationship, we need to use another cool rigging plugin, which is Duet Angela for After Effects. If you don't know how to use Duet Angela or how to install Duet Angela for After Effects, then there is this video popping on the screen. You can click on it and you can watch how to install Duet Angela. And in next video, we will learn how to use Duet Angela with Puppet Pen tool to create awesome animations. Till the next video, keep watching, keep learning, keep designing.